What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. The holiday break is over, so the videos are back, and the Winnipeg Jets heading into, the Christmas break, we're headed out on a high. And right now, currently sitting third in the Central, just a point away from first place. The Winnipeg Jets, I think, legitimately are a Stanley Cup contender this season. Now, I know that sounds a little bit insane, and, some of you are going to say, okay, well, no, let's pump the brakes on this, and that's totally fair. But I'm more inclined to believe in the Winnipeg Jets now than I have in, 5 years, if not more. And the way that this team is structured this year, the way that they're winning and the way that they're, consistently winning is sustainable. The last few years, you can't really say that that was true. Last year, Connor Hellebuyck really carried Winnipeg to a lot of their wins. They really rode him until the end of the year, and he was dead by the playoffs. The Jets got outshot 2-1 in a ton of their games last season. They struggled to beat good teams, they struggled to beat bad teams, but, sometimes they did come up in the end just because of great goaltending. And now, if you look at it, it's really the opposite. Sure, Connor Hellebuyck is having, another Vezina caliber season, but the Jets are also having one of their greatest defensive years in team history since returning. At this point in the year, they've allowed the second fewest goals in the league, and to go with that, they have a plus 27 goal differential, which is third in the league. The Jets are for real, guys. They're playing great offense, they're playing great defense, and again, I stand by what I said earlier. I do think that they can be a cup contender this season. Now, there is still 50 games to go, and I understand that a lot of people aren't going to believe it until Winnipeg gets over that hump of that, that second half collapse that they like to do in January. Winnipeg is notorious for playing bad in January and, into February and maybe even some of March, right? The Jets are notorious the last few years for getting off to a good start and then tanking as the season goes on. And this year, I think that it is different, and I'll tell you why right now. If you look at the lineup the Jets had last year, they didn't have Namestnikov or Niederreiter until around the trade deadline. They had Blake Wheeler playing top 6 minutes, and they had Pierre-Luc Dubois, who was just playing sometimes, right? Sometimes he played great, but in the second half of the year, he really just mailed it in. He really wasn't that effective, to be totally honest with you. Now, when you put that all together and have Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor not playing at an elite level last season, you get what you got last year, a first-round exit and a pretty disappointing back half of the season. This year, totally different. Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor have returned to form, and they're some of the best players on the team this year. The line of Ehlers, Scheifele, and Velarde is playing lights out right now. Gabe Velarde, what a year he's having. He's playing absolutely incredible. Outpacing Pierre-Luc Dubois over there in LA in basically half of the games because he missed a bunch due to an injury. Ehlers, Scheifele, and Velarde right now, they're one of the scariest lines in the NHL, one of the best for sure. And then you look at the rest of the lineup, and there's just so much depth here. Alex Iafallo, he had a great start to the season, slowed down a little bit, but still just way better depth than Winnipeg has ever had, in the last couple of years in that middle six. Cole Perfetti's taken a step forward this season. He's less afraid to shoot the puck, and I think that's gone a long way, as this year it really seems like he is breaking out. He should be, around the 50 or 60 point mark, I believe, around the end of the season if he's able to stay healthy. And then you've got a guy like Vlad Namestnikov, who's just, a Swiss Army knife. He can play second-line center, he can play third-line wing, he can play fourth-line center, he can do whatever you want him to do. I really like Namestnikov playing with Perfetti. They usually play pretty well. I do see Namestnikov probably falling down the lineup as the year goes on, as Winnipeg, probably makes a bigger move around the trade deadline. We'll talk about that later, but Namestnikov, not a bad player. And then you've got Alex Iafallo, who's not a bad player at all. Really good, just steady middle six forward, can play good defense, he can add in offensively as well. He's been a really good addition to Winnipeg this year, and a really, needed depth piece that, they just haven't had in the last few years. Now let's take a look at the third line. Last year's third line was a black hole of offense. Adam Lowry went through a very long stretch last season without a goal, and I know goals aren't everything for a player like Adam Lowry, but when you play 15 plus a night, you would probably like to, have that guy be scoring a little bit more than he is. This season, it has not been a problem. The third line is playing great defensively and offensively. Niederreiter and Lowry together have been great. Such a great pairing together. Mason Appleton has proved that he is, a top 9 player in the league. He's returned to form from the bubble season. He's looked really good this year compared to last year, where he was, probably one of the worst players on the ice for a lot of the year. I'm just, speaking facts. But Niederreiter, Lowry, and Appleton together have been great, and a big part of why Winnipeg has been so successful. They have been able to shut down other teams, best. They've been suffocating. They've been able to chip in offensively and allow Winnipeg to roll 4 lines with, confidence. So I really like the third line, but moving on to the fourth line, it's been a revolving door of players. Morgan Barron this year has been, really underrated, I think. A guy that's on a lot of teams would probably be playing top line minutes. I think if an injury does happen, he can fit in the top 9, no problem. He's good offensively and defensively, just a really responsible, well-rounded player. I like Morgan Barron a lot. David Gustafsson, a good defensive player, just not an offensive force, really. I think we're starting to see that, and a guy that I think can probably be replaced around the trade deadline if the Jets do add, a top 6 forward. But we'll see what happens with him. We, of course, do have Rasmus Kupari, who is on IR, should be returning soon. But yeah, David Gustafsson for now is the fourth line center. Currently, as I'm making the video, Axel Johnson-Fialbi is in because Kyle Connor is hurt. So, add Kyle Connor into the top 6 here. Johnson-Fialbi probably comes out, and that's, the lineup you've got right now. Now, if we take a look over on the defense, Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello are the first pairing. That should not be a surprise. Last year, Josh Morrissey had an incredible year, and this year he is building off of that as he's got 29 points in 32 games. He's putting up a lot of, similar numbers to last season, maybe a little bit quieter than last year just due to all of the success up front and all the Gabe Vilardi hype going on in Winnipeg right now. But Josh Morrissey legitimately is having a Norris candidate season once again, and I'm really happy to see him, not take a step back this year and prove that he is an elite defenseman in the NHL. If we look at his partner, Dylan DeMello, he's playing fantastic as well. I mean, just, again, one of those guys that just suffocates you, shuts you down, doesn't really let you do a whole lot. He can chip in offensively as well, 12 points to this point, and, just one of those really underrated players in the league. Now, we look at the bottom 4 defense. This is where Winnipeg has had their issues in the past, but Brendan Dillon and Neil Pionk, who struggled last season together, look really good this year. And, the points don't really reflect it maybe, but I'm really not worried about points with these guys. I mean, Brendan Dillon has, 5 goals and 10 points, which is really funny. The guy almost had a hat trick against Arizona. That was really funny. But Dillon and Pionk together have worked actually pretty well. They've been pretty responsible this year. Pionk, maybe the offensive numbers aren't as big as you'd like them to be, but he just has been less chaotic. We've talked about it on the channel already this season. Seems more poised this year. He's in position a lot more. He's not, chasing the game really. He just seems like he's in the right spot more often than not. He's not the perfect defenseman or anything like that, but Neil Pionk is a great player and has proven that, he can play top 4 minutes consistently and not be a massive defensive liability. With Brendan Dillon, I mean, Dillon's just been solid, just a great lockdown player for the Jets. I really don't hate this pairing, to be totally honest with you. I wouldn't mind an upgrade in the top 4, but we'll see what happens once the trade deadline comes along. Now, if we look at the bottom pairing, Dylan Samberg has been there pretty much all season. He's played really great, a young defenseman. He's got 8 assists this year. Not, lighting the world on fire, not the flashiest player ever, but just a really responsible young defenseman playing around, 15 minutes a night. You'd love to see it. Now, his partner has been different for the majority of the season. I mean, Nate Schmidt's been in and out of the lineup, just being, played and benched. Logan Stanley's been in there. Declan Chisholm's been in there. Ville Heinola was supposed to start the season there, but he actually, got hurt. Should be back soon. So it should be interesting to see what Winnipeg does with that 6th D spot. If Ville Heinola is able to come in and, look solidified and ready to go, I think that, that's probably the guy they're going to roll with. It doesn't seem like Nate Schmidt is being made a priority, and I don't think he really should be at this point in his career. Wouldn't be shocked if the Jets try to waive him just to try to clear some cap space. But that's the defense core. It's been really good and just really consistent this year. We'll see how it goes the rest of the year, but can't complain about it at all. And it shouldn't be a surprise to any that Connor Hellebuyck is once again having a great year. 16-6-2, 2.37 goals against average with a 9.18 save percentage and a single shutout. But behind him is Laurent Brossoit, and this is something Winnipeg hasn't had in a while, a capable backup. He's 4-3-1, started the year off shaky, but in his last few starts has looked very good. So Laurent Brossoit taking some of the load off for Connor Hellebuyck, and it's something that they've desperately needed. So the Jets are a much more complete team this year and probably more likely not to have a second half collapse, but that is going to be their hurdle right now. But if, we're looking past that, if we say they're fine, their biggest problem is their special teams. Their special teams is among the worst in the NHL on both sides. It's very inconsistent, and Winnipeg needs to tighten that up so badly. It doesn't help that Kyle Connor is out right now either, but the Jets have the talent to score. They need to figure that out. I'm really hoping that, maybe they change the system, after this Christmas break. Maybe it's just a reset. Maybe they can, I don't know, just be more aggressive, there's just too much standing still on both sides of it. They're just waiting for the puck to be shot at them on the penalty kill, and they're just looking for that perfect lane that really, is hard to come by on the power play. So I hope it changes. That's been their biggest weakness, and probably, one of their only weaknesses this season. So, if the Jets can get that under control, I think that they're just that much scarier. But yeah, I really like this Winnipeg Jets team. I'm hoping that maybe they look at adding a guy like maybe Pavel Buchnevich into the lineup. I think that would go a long way into the playoffs. If you're looking at defensemen, I mean, Noah Hannafin would be intriguing if you're looking to swing for the fences on defense. Maybe a Sean Walker type of guy from Philadelphia. I think that would be nice as well. We'll see if he's on the market. I think that, they have a lot of options here, but it's just what they consider more of a need. I mean, it would be nice to get both a top 6 forward and a top 4 defenseman, but that is going to be expensive, both with the cap space and, with assets. So we'll see what Kevin Cheveldayoff wants to do, but so far this season, I'm very happy with the team, and I can't wait to see where it goes. But that's going to do it from me, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the Winnipeg Jets this season and, their early season success. Will that continue? Will they be a Stanley Cup contender? I want to hear about it in the comments, so leave that down below. But also leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one. Go Jets, go! Bye-bye.